everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having a truly amazing weekend. Thank you for all of the kind comments that you sent my way this week about Hemmer, my new Vectrex VX1 maxi scooter. And don't worry, I have not ridden it since I filmed that video. New tyres are here. They will be going on next Monday, I think. We're all taking Monday off. So tomorrow, in fact, when you're watching this, we're going to take the day off, and I'm hoping that I can get the wheels off and get them to a local scooter specialist who will help me put new tyres on. And then after I've worn those tyres in a bit, hopefully I should be a lot safer on the road. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about the EV world. Not necessarily automakers, but rather EV enthusiasts. And I'm wondering if we are a little bit elite, maybe too elite for our own good. So this time of year, there's lots of EV displays around the world that coincide with Drive Electric Week. And I have been hearing some stories from people who have wanted to display unusual or quirky or older electric vehicles at events, and had, event organisers suggest that perhaps they don't bring a particular vehicle, or ask if they have something more mainstream or more appealing. And it makes me wonder, based on the comments that we sometimes get on our videos, if the EV industry and EV owners and enthusiasts are turning into snobs. Or maybe we've been snobs for a while. Maybe we are a little elite about the kind of vehicles we promote and we are excited about. And I think some of that is probably down to the fact that EVs are now mainstream, right? When I first started driving EVs nearly 20 years ago, if you drove an EV back then, you were generally a bit weird. And you were okay with being a bit weird. And these days, EVs have kind of shifted more towards mainstream. Yes, I know there are lots of media news organisations that are trying very hard to portray EVs in a bad light. But I think for the most part, EVs are generally pretty well accepted by a large proportion of the population. And I wonder if people who are organising displays or have community groups are less interested or less eager to embrace the people who are doing the weird conversions of old classic cars, who are willing to embrace people who tinker on their own vehicles. I know that when I discuss on the channel, DIY EV repair and things like that, the reaction that I get today from commenters is very different to the reaction that I used to get 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, it was like, yeah, go on, do it. It's going to be great. And these days it's like, oh, should you really be doing that? And I wonder if, again, that's a side effect of EVs becoming more mainstream, or whether people who work on their own EVs are now looked down upon as being the weird family member in the corner that you have to meet once a year, and we'd rather not talk about that. And I find that personally kind of interesting, because nowadays in the EV world, there's definitely some tribes that are building up, right? You've got people who own a particular type of vehicle and view it as being superior to all the other EVs out there and don't mind telling people that. Then you've got the groups of people who are like, well, I'm not going to buy this car because of this reason. And look, I am personally in that group. I wouldn't personally buy a Tesla because I don't agree with some of the things that Elon Musk is doing as an individual. And while I am a customer of a company that Elon Musk uses, Starlink, I really hate that I am, and I'm looking for alternatives. You've also got the tribe of people who are like the two wheels, and then you've got the people who are three-wheel fans. And, I always feel like three-wheelers get a bad rep from everybody, because the two-wheelers are not necessarily that interested in it because they're not motorbikes or scooters, and the car drivers are not interested in it because it's three-wheelers, and three-wheelers are inherently dangerous, as Top Gear has told us for years and years and years, even though that Reliant accident that they did on Top Gear years and years ago was actually staged, and they had to modify the vehicle to make it tip over. That doesn't matter. Everybody has that kind of hardwired into their brain now that, oh yeah, stay away from the three-wheelers. So I am curious if I am just reading too much into tribalism in the EV industry, in the EV enthusiast world, or if like me, you think, yeah, you know, there is some snobbery. And if you are someone who owns an older EV, or maybe had converted EV, or maybe you've done some of your own work on your EV, how would you categorize the reaction from other people to your vehicle? Are generally the reactions very good, or do people kind of look at you and go, well, why don't you just go and buy insert name of brand here from the dealer or from the showroom and be done with it? And I think that is something that I find very, very interested in. I'm very, very interested in this, and I find very intriguing. I think also there's some tribalism around the people who are environmentalists who are into EVs, and the people who want EVs because they're cool and they can drive themselves and stuff like that. So how do you navigate all of that? How do we represent a community that has now become very wide in its representation? How do we make sure that we all push towards the end goal, which is getting people off fossil fuels and onto clean, green, renewable, sustainable energy? How do we make sure it's equitable for everybody? How do we make sure that we don't discourage people who want to work on their own vehicles from buying an EV? Sorry, there was a flying ant. How do we make sure that we make that future a place where everybody can enjoy the transition to electric? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, keep your eyes peeled for more awesome content from myself and the rest of the team next week. We've got an update on the Ford F-150 Lightning coming. That's coming later in the week. We've got a video tomorrow on heat pumps and why you should go and get one. So plenty of great content coming down the road for you for next week. And then I think Kate Walton Elliott has something planned for Thursday or Friday as well. Anyway, there's obviously a lot to say about the comments. There's a dog that's come to say hello. But if you are a recently signed up member of the Patreon crew, thank you so much for supporting the channel. You can join up from as little as $1 a month, or about $10.08 a year, and that would really help the channel, because that really helps us have a reliable, sustainable income, because YouTube ad revenue has been absolutely terrible of late. If your name is not on the list, I apologise. We are working on a new list and we've had some issues, so we are going to change how we do that end credit. Scrolling on my right is the list of amazing charged up supporters, and shout outs go out to the amazing V2G Patreon supporters: Alan Tupper, Andrew Martin, Bennett Elder, Brophy Wolf, Chris Maxwell, Cyprian Laplace, Dan Blair, Gordon C, Hey Esker, John Tramal, Carl Fox, Mark Eggleton, Peter Dillinger, Regine Fellows, Sean Tucker, Stephen Fremgen, Stephen Williams, Taslet in the Gong, Paul Bricknell, Tony Moss, Carl Hodgson, Chris Asentar, Denny Hyde, Lance Schall, Linda Irish, my phone just beeped, Mike Weeder and Paul Nelson. And finally, big thanks to our off-grid supporters. They are Paul Conway, Kevin Burridge, Stephen O'Donoghue, Jim Burness, Robert Flannery, Aaron Hahn, Ellery Hensley, Rory Litwin, JP Fagerback, Dave Kitchen, Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, Chris and Michael Johnson, Clay Witt, CPU Freak 101, Eric Neck, Joe Bresney, John Henderson, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobneck, Nigel S, Reggie Watts, Will Graylin, and of course, Ian. Don't forget that we make videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday on this channel, and then on a Sunday you can see me over here on Transport Evolved Take 2 for the Sunday Musing, which is what you've just watched, and our Chicken and Garden update, which I hope, if you haven't watched it already, you'll go back and watch that next. Anyway, thanks for joining me. As always, keep evolving.